He's there. He's here. He's every fucking way. Roy Kent. Okay, here we go. Welcome to Was It Good? I'm Ravi. As always, joined by Krishna Arjuna. Mr. Michael sits in our producer's chair. Tons of fucking spoilers ahead. We are talking What If, Episode 2. We are talking Ted Lasso, Season 2, Episode 5. And Arjuna is going to end it with a beautiful 60-second pitch to try and convince Krishna and I to go and see M. Night Shyamalan, Ding Long's newest movie, Old.
Wow.
With a twist at the end.
I have to say, intro is much better when it's not being read.
It really is, because I have this problem. I'm looking at the camera, and then I'm not looking at the camera, and then I'm twitching.
So you still twitch.
Yeah. That's the hangover.
That's the caffeine boost.
That's the caffeine boost. It also just feels nice holding a mug.
Yeah. You show the people what the mug is.
It's a Ted Lasso mug.
Yeah.
It's not my mug, because I don't like Ted Lasso.
Wow.
But it's a nice mug. You know, we should probably get Was It Good mugs.
We should get one. I have it.
Christian wants a Was It Good chain.
I wanted to say wig.
That's his birthday present this year.
But I wanted to be big and obnoxious. I'm not going to wear it.
Like
Do you remember?
studded?
Do you remember?
Yeah.
What was it when we went to Six Flags and I demanded our parents get me that dragon necklace? Remember
Is that where you got that?
It was Six Flags.
I thought it was Walmart.
No, it was Six Flags, which is basically the Walmart of amusement parks.
No, that's Canopy Lake Park.
No, yeah. No,
That's
like Smart and Fine.
No. Canopy Lake Park is the CVS in the bad part of the neighborhood of theme parks.
Wow, that's really specific.
I know.
Weird.
I know. Anyway, we're not talking that. Like I said, tons
We're
of
not
sports
talking
ahead.
about Canopy Lake
We're not
Park?
talking about our
Apparently,
childhood.
they're not open Mondays and Tuesdays because they're understaffed.
Wow, it's a real problem.
Fun fact.
But anyway,
Shocking.
things that are fun. What If? Marvel's newest Disney Plus show. What If? Where Jeffrey Wright narrates and then doesn't say anything else, and they've wasted him as a voice actor.
Here's a couple
He has a couple things, but he narrates and he explains to us scenarios in the Marvel Cinematic Universe where things have changed. This newest episode is where T'Challa is actually picked up by the Ravengers.
The Ravengers.
Oh, the Ravengers. Wow, I got that right. Good for me.
You're welcome.
He's picked up by them and takes on the role of Star-Lord and changes a bunch of things.
Yeah.
He's a much better Star-Lord than Peter Quill.
Well, Arjuna,
apparently,
though, Arjuna was saying this is also, unfortunately, this is Chadwick Boseman's last portrayal of T'Challa, Black Panther, in the What If series. A couple fun facts. There is going to be 2 other episodes with T'Challa.
There's going to be 3 more episodes.
3 more.
3 more episodes
even better.
with Chadwick Boseman's performance. 2 out of those 3 will have 2 different versions of T'Challa. So,
well, we already know, like, obviously, spoilers ahead. We know that there's going to be a zombie episode.
Yeah.
So I believe, I would assume Black Panther is going to be in there.
Sure.
Well, actually, maybe not with everything that's happened. That would feel a little weird and insensitive.
And then there's also, we know from the trailer, there's also an episode where Killmonger saves Tony Stark.
Yep.
So I would assume maybe Chadwick shows up in that
Maybe
episode.
he's bad in that.
And there's also the rumor that the last episode is like the Guardians of the Multiverse. So like a lot of these characters that have appeared in the first 8 episodes will kind of team up in some way.
The multiverse, you say?
Yeah, so there was a leak recently online of like the episode rundowns. I think it was on like a Twitter post or a Facebook post. And the last one, I think the description was Vision, Thanos, the Infinity Stones, and the Guardians of the Multiverse.
Huh. Okay.
Yeah.
Very cool. Did anyone have a favorite part in this episode?
Oh, so for me, it's got to be reformed Thanos. Thanos being, just this kind of goofy, good guy, like, or I don't know if he's a good guy, but, he's not trying to actively destroy the universe, though he still does have the idea that if you wipe out half the universe, resources can be saved.
That makes him though, like, I think he was never really bad.
He was bad
in Endgame. Like,
he killed half the universe.
But remember though, and he says it in the episode. It's indiscriminative. Is that the word?
No, that's not right.
How do you say it?
Indiscriminate.
indiscriminate. It's indiscriminate in the sense that it's at random, right?
Yeah.
It's not like him actively doing
Okay,
it.
so
That
most
doesn't make it
most
right,
bad people. Let me let you in
sociopaths.
on a little secret.
Thank you.
Don't think they're bad people. They think they're doing the right thing or doing good things for the greater good.
So
Well, some of them, yeah.
A lot of them. Well, I mean, there are, granted, a few who are like, I just want to see the world burn, right?
The Joker.
But
The Yoka.
in a lot of media, and then I would say especially in quote unquote real life, because we could be in a simulation, we never know. But in real life, a lot of people we view in history as bad don't necessarily view themselves as bad, and also it's all about perspective. So,
Yeah.
Thanos in his own perspective is not a bad guy.
And apparently some other people agree with him.
I don't think he's bad.
Well, okay, Barney.
I'm not Barney. I'm Ravi.
I did like the meta commentary about like having the discussion, and it was kind of like I felt like a wink at the audience members poking at Thanos and his whole ideology through Infinity War and Endgame, and how T'Challa was able to basically
Talk
just
him
have
out
a
of
nice
it.
conversation with him
Yep.
over maybe a nice lunch, and kind of be like, "Hey, man, maybe that's not the best idea." And he's like, "Yeah, you're right." Then that was it. Then they were cool.
Then they were cool.
And then they joined up, and he became a weenie. He became a purple weenie. He got beat up. This guy's supposed to be Mad Titan, and he gets beat up by his own order.
Well, he doesn't
He
have...
got beat up by the own order that worked for him. What the
Wait,
hell?
are you really mad about this?
No, I'm not mad. I'm just
I know.
saying.
But
remember,
Marvel's always had a
power
level problem.
Yeah, but power
why
level
though?
wise, remember, he's at his peak in Endgame because he's got the gauntlet, right?
No. So here you go. In Endgame, when the 2014 Thanos comes, he kicks the shit out of people without any fucking stones.
Yeah, but he's had training.
What does that mean? He was 6 years older and like had to use the stones and
no.
almost lost.
So here's the thing about when you change things in the
it's so
universe.
funny.
Yeah.
In this
So
version,
funny.
he clearly had less training sessions.
Yeah.
He wasn't doing as many push-ups.
Yeah. Arjuna.
So obviously his power level is
No.
lower.
It's
What
just
if
because
he
What
couldn't
if-
beat
what
up
if
those people?
we couldn't agree on the power levels of certain heroes and villains?
But it's
within the
what if
MCU?
like things change. Like
Yeah,
to
sure.
Christian's point, it makes sense that he's not as powerful, right?
Yeah,
and the Collector obviously is the main
he got
villain.
swole.
He got real swole, right?
That's right.
What do you think his training regimen was? Like
Pull-ups.
100
Steroids.
push-ups a day.
100 push-ups a day. What is this?
He's the collector, right? He's got a variety, so he collects things, right? So he's collected a shit ton of different steroids.
Oh, there you
Found
go.
the ones that made sense
He
and made
mixed
him
them?
buff. Yeah.
Oh, he's a
Right.
steroid cocktail.
I mean, he also like remember when he's towards the end when he's fighting T'Challa, he's got the case, right, of all these random things like
Captain
we see
America's shield.
shield, we see some dagger, we see Hera's hair thing,
Yeah.
whole bunch of. We also see the Dark Elf, right?
You see a dark elf in the container.
But do we think that is the Dark Elf that got or tried to get the ether, the one played by Christopher Eccleston?
I just felt that was more of a throwback to the first Guardians movie where they showed what were in the cases, and it was like a random dark
Yeah.
elf that was in there.
we also saw Howard the Duck,
Howard the Duck.
Yep.
voiced by Seth Green, by the way.
Yep, who voiced him in the cameo in Guardians.
Speaking of voice actors, it seems like Marvel got a bunch of individuals to reprise their roles as characters. We see Drax in this as a bartender who is
Yeah.
thankful to T'Challa for saving his family, but wasn't voiced by Dave Bautista.
Yeah, and there was actually a Twitter exchange. I think we might have mentioned this when we did What If episode 1, but people were like, "Dave, why didn't you come back?" And he's like, "I wasn't even asked." And,
He was busy doing Dune, obviously.
And the producers were like, they kind of gave a half answer, like, we asked everybody, whether directly or indirectly, and then they like showed them Bautista's tweet, and they're like, "Look," and this was like the shocking admission to me. He's like, "Look, this is a lower budgeted show. We only had a certain budget. We had to be targeted in our asks of who we could get and budget for, and we just knew that there were some that were realistic and some that weren't." So I guess they viewed Bautista as like an unrealistic person. 'Cause
I wonder if it comes down to like realistically he would have asked for more money than they could have given.
Yeah, I think he would have asked for more money, and Bautista's been pretty vocal about his dislike of the whole Marvel stuff recently, specifically with like the way his character has gone down. He felt like him and Infinity War and Endgame didn't make sense because he felt like Guardians 1 specifically built up this conflict between him and Thanos with his removal of his family, and then that wasn't touched on at all in the movies. And so I think he was pretty upset about that. He's pretty adamant that Guardians 3 is going to be it for him. He even, I think, revealed recently that if Gunn hadn't come back, he wasn't going to do Guardians 3. So I think he's just there for James Gunn, and then he's like really just done with the whole thing.
So basically, it sounds like it was one of those situations where the producers were like, there's no point in opening up a can of worms.
Pretty much.
Might as well just have the Twitter exchanges and be done with it. Because that's going to be easy.
And
smart.
maybe, like
It's less of a headache.
Yeah,
on their part.
Dave Bautista getting a little too big for his boots. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding.
I mean, he decided to do Army of the Dead instead of the Suicide Squad.
Which is weird, right? Because
Oops.
what is it like? Where's his rankings and directors? Is he like James Gunn over Snyder or Snyder over Gunn?
His reasoning is this, and now after seeing the Suicide Squad, it makes sense. He was obviously offered the lead in Army of the Dead,
right,
and more money, and he'd never worked with Snyder, and he wanted to work with Snyder. For the Suicide Squad, he was probably on Team A. He's going to be one of the cameos at the beginning because he said it was a much smaller role.
Yep.
Yeah.
He would have died. He's worked with Gunn before. So, and there was less money, obviously, because of that. So
yeah, I mean, hey, man's got to eat and buy expensive things. So
Man's got to eat.
yeah, and he likes doing shitty movies. Clearly, he's done a lot of them.
Let's move on to this because we're talking
ones.
What If episode 2. Wakanda. So I have a question actually about Wakanda. So obviously T'Challa is abducted by a bunch of creepy older male characters.
Oh, God.
Anywho, goes off, sees the universe. T'Challa's father obviously sends a couple of,
the ships
out to space. I didn't know, is it established in the regular MCU that those ships can go into space?
No.
Or do we think it's more the Collector just happened to find one of these spaceships?
I don't think. Here's my guess, right? I think that the Wakandans figured out he was not on Earth, and that may have propelled their technology to evolve in a different way, where they're like, we have to go beyond Earth. We need to go
Save
to
the prince.
space
Right,
to get to the prince, right? And
like
then probably the Collector found one of those ships, I guess killed the people inside, because it's just their clothing and like mannequins, which is kind of dark.
See, I took it as they were wearing space helmets and underneath were their skeletons.
Oh, I thought it was just a mannequin.
Oh, I thought it was like a helmet or something that they were wearing over.
But that would be my guess. So I think what's interesting about What If, it's like, it's taking elements that we're familiar with and it's tweaking them slightly, and maybe it also informs what could come, right? So like, now that Tony Stark is no longer in like MCU Prime, right? The Wakandans, and we saw this in Falcon Winter Soldier, are big like tech people within the MCU, and so I guess as space becomes more a part of the MCU, that's your explanation of maybe more of your Earthbound characters going to space, because we see that the Wakandans are capable of space travel, and potentially will do that.
Well,
in,
we
MCU
know in the
Prime.
regular MCU that Fury's in space with a couple of Skrulls, right?
Yeah.
So maybe because Shield obviously at some point in the comics evolves into or spins off into Sword, which is the space kind of like Shield agency.
Right.
So hopefully there's more space to come, because space is cool, man.
Is it, though?
I don't know. Yes. Yes, it's cool.
It's pretty empty if you think about it.
Yeah, most of it is empty.
99 point.
Something percent. Yeah, space
lot.
is just nothing.
99.69%.
No, it's more.
So obviously the episode kind of ends with a nice little cameo of the original Star-Lord from the MCU, Peter Quill,
In a diner?
in a diner, listening
Sweeping?
to his music.
Yeah.
And obviously Ego pops up. Now, did anyone check, was that voiced by Chris Pratt?
I don't know, honestly.
I'm going to assume no, but I didn't check.
It was Kurt Russell.
Yeah, it was definitely
As
Kurt
Ego.
Russell, yeah.
Oh, shit.
Which makes me wonder, are we going to see more Ego at some point? Because what I'm
Maybe.
picking up on is the voice actors that they actually do have, I believe we're going to hear a lot of, like, the main ones, like the Peggy Carters, like Ego, even like Kurt Russell being who he is. Like, I'm wondering if it's more than just a quick, like, two lines. I'm wondering if there's going to be more Ego. Because also, like, the thing with Ego that's interesting, and this kind of relates to the trailer that just came out for Eternals, is Ego is a celestial, right?
Right.
There is we
powerful.
also, with the Ravengers, they go to the Collector, his entire setup is on a dead Celestial's skeleton.
Right.
Eternals show us a bunch of Celestials. Celestials are going to become like a very hot button term. I'm wondering if one of these What If episodes we're going to be introduced to more information or backstory about Eternals, which comes out in November. And coincidentally, I believe What If will wrap up, if I'm doing math correctly, in early October.
Like mid-October.
Mid-October,
Yeah,
so
a
kind
few
of just
weeks
before.
Eternals.
Yeah. So I'm wondering if we're going to get
interesting.
more Ego, which is cool because Ego is hilarious.
And his brothers and sisters, like, we go.
There's no.
And me go.
I actually, so I have a quick question, right? So,
No.
if we are projecting forward, then we're having characters that we've seen already, and then future ones that are coming back. Do we think that the What If series is going to have some kind of, whether it's subtle or direct, overarching conflict or storyline that sort of maybe not ties every single episode together, but let's say like Ego, that like the ending of episode 2 there where Ego finds Peter Quill, that's obviously going to do something, right? He's going to
Well,
take
even
him
Jeffrey
back to
Wright, as the Watcher, says, "Oh, that's the story for another time." And we do know there is a season 2 of What If
Yep.
coming out at some point.
And,
Yeah.
Right. And the
So it's
I guess I guess the question I have then is like in terms of the universe,
yeah.
what are the implications of this? How
Well, that's the
what
whole
are we
point of
gonna
the
see?
show is it will explain it to us at
the
some
producers
point.
have
predictions,
the producers have also said that there are characters they want to revisit in future seasons. So they've said like Peggy Carter, for example, Captain Carter is going to be a character that shows up every season of the show. Like that will always be an episode, right? And a lot of the creators behind the show have also talked about how the show is essentially a testing ground.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For
So Bob
elements-
Chapek should have been like, "This was the experiment,
Yeah,
right?"
it's essentially an experiment for like what elements,
Yeah.
like what of these remixes are popular, and then how do we port those into like the movies and the live action shows and stuff. So apparently Chadwick had talked about like really loved doing this character, and actually had talked to Ryan Coogler and Kevin Feige about incorporating some of those elements of Star-Lord, T'Challa into Black Panther 2, right? Because
Right.
if you think about it, the sense of discovery and exploring out are still in T'Challa. He just wasn't able to necessarily find those within our MCU Prime.
Right, because he's got to be a king, right? And
Right,
that obviously takes
exactly.
up a lot of
Yeah,
responsibility.
exactly,
I think I
exactly.
wouldn't know.
Oh, interesting.
I've never been a king.
And you never will be.
Wow.
You're
Presumptuous.
Get out.
He's king of
Cut
the
his
castle.
microphone, Mr. Michael. Cut his mic. Oh, he can't talk anymore. Definitely cool. Are you guys still enjoying the What Ifs? Do you still feel like it's a Saturday morning cartoon, but on Wednesday, and your entire week is kind of fucked up because of it?
Yeah, a little bit.
Yeah, same.
I think that's like we kind of discussed last week. That's the best way to watch it. It's, it's these one-offs. One-offs. Yeah, you just throw it on. It's relatively entertaining within the 20 to 30 minutes that they're on for. But yeah, there really isn't that. At least so far, there isn't too much more to like really think about or theorize about.
Yeah,
So-
I think similar to WandaVision, like the creatives honestly fucked it up with
Ooh.
the interviews that they did and trying to hype it and make it out to be something that it's not,
Yeah.
instead of just kind of letting people
Just enjoy it for what
enjoy
it
it
is.
and just trying to make the headlines of like,
Yeah.
oh, this is what If is about, and
Yeah.
X, Y, and Z, and
Yeah.
it's hard to, they know what they're doing and they know that those keywords that are relevant on social and kind of inform like, oh, now I'm going to check it out because I want this, and I feel like they've kind of sold a false bag of goods.
Yeah.
But if you can remove that, it's enjoyable, and I really like this episode. So
Yeah, out of the two that we've gotten so far, I think this is probably... I like this one more than the Peggy Carter one.
much more.
Because
Yeah.
again, with the Peggy Carter one, it feels like it's too close to Captain America, the first Avenger movie.
Yeah.
As opposed to this, where it can really be kind of like, yeah, let's get kind of zany and weird, and like, yeah, Thanos. Like having Thanos in there, I think is great because it makes it kind of weird.
Totally.
And it
just
really
shows,
does,
like, how
and
much
it really
was different.
Yeah, exactly.
you know?
It really does that whole like what if type setup, which I think is great.
Real
So.
quick, do you guys think Nebula and T'Challa?
Yes.
Many times.
100%. Which is a great. It's a great.
They did the cha-cha. Yeah. They did the cha-cha.
Oh no!
That's good. That's good.
Wow.
Krishna
Oh.
was what if? So
Was what
weird. Was what if episode 2, Thanos returns? Good.
Yes, it was good. I just to piggyback off of you guys, it was better than the first episode. I like seeing. I like that. Like you said, they dive more into the what if idea, where they really show how different the world is once you change some things. So yeah, I enjoyed it.
Do you like connect with Thanos because he is also a fellow member of the Bald Brotherhood?
I do. I feel his pain where he isn't able to carry out his lifelong dreams. And in this world, probably because he is bald. But, it's fine. Arjuna, was episode 2 of What If good?
It was good, and this is exactly what I wanted from this type of show, in terms of taking one small element and really spinning it off and really thinking about the deep impacts of it. Episode 1 felt more like just a slight retelling of First Avenger, and this felt like something completely different, right?
Yeah.
Like, obviously there are elements of Guardians in there and Black Panther, but it did really feel like that.
Like the music.
But it really felt like this one felt like they really thought through of like what would happen, like even the little touches of like Wakanda's like technology being further advanced. Some of the relationships of like T'Challa being able to bring peace to the universe, right? Making the Ravagers into this Robin Hood-esque good guys, making sure Thanos isn't evil. I thought were all really nice touches. Ravi, was What If episode 2 Cha-Cha good?
It was good. It was an episode that made me believe. No, excuse me. It gave me the ammo needed to prove to you all that Thanos is really a good guy.
They could bring this Thanos into the MCU Prime, so you have a good guy Thanos.
That would be amazing and kind of hilarious because everyone would try to automatically, if he
Kill
showed
him.
up, they would immediately try and kill him.
Well, I mean, like the Fast and Furious, right? They've redeemed at least 100 of their villains.
Oh, yeah.
And they're part of the family.
They're part of the family now. Like,
Actually,
I try to kill you, but it's okay.
Another beloved franchise for this group, Dragon Ball Z,
Yeah,
Dragon Ball
Vegeta.
Super.
Vegeta
They've
was
redeemed
Piccolo,
Vegeta, Tien.
Yep.
All of these people were at one point enemies of Goku.
It was Majin Buu.
Majin
Majin
Buu. man.
Buu? Oh
Yeah,
my
Majin-
God.
versions of
Yeah,
Majin
isn't Majin Buu came back as a kid or reincarnated?
Arjuna, I don't mean to ruin Dragon Ball Super.
Oh, God.
I won't say it. Never
Yeah,
mind.
don't.
Yeah.
I already
better
know.
if you
It's Frieza, right?
Yeah.
So we just need.
Frieza's good though because it's not a perfect redemption, and
So-
he's still this like shady ass guy.
So you're saying we need to redeem Cell, and then we're good?
Yeah.
Cell's
Exactly.
the only one they haven't even.
Cell is still the
tried to redeem.
creepiest thing on the planet. Like nothing gives
So
me
good.
more nightmare. Actually, no, the aliens from M. Night Shyamalan's Signs, those things are creepy too.
They are creepy.
Well, we should watch Signs. Yeah,
In
let's
the
just
dark.
stop the Pongo watch Signs.
Wow.
We'll be right back.
Speaking of things that aren't good, let's move
man.
into Ted Lasso season 2, a season that has had a very bizarre and weird start. That has not figured out timing well in terms of episode 4 being a very kind of Christmas-centric episode, and now episode 5 of season 2 being a very kind of rom-com / Valentine's Day weekend episode is what I felt.
Yes.
Like it felt like it should have dropped.
exactly what it
should have
was.
dropped in like end of January, February, where you've got all the love rom-com movies coming out.
Which
Something
kind
you would
of
take
makes-
on a date.
Which makes sense, right? Like, let's say if the episode
Yeah.
4 was the Christmas
Christmas
one.
one, yep.
You're absolutely right. Because it seems to be we're jumping ahead a month. Almost, it feels like within the world, we're going like a month ahead
yeah.
from each one. Which is why maybe it feels, maybe that's part of the reason it feels so
does
disjointed.
that mean then,
Yes.
kind of reckless speculating here, does
April
that mean
Fool's
then we're going to
next.
see 2 seasons? 2 football
Yeah,
seasons?
it
Because if
almost-
we're moving so quickly.
It does, because I also discovered something
wow.
when I was researching for Ted Lasso. This episode is not 10 episodes. The season is not 10
I was going
episodes.
to say, an episode is not
This
10
season
episodes?
is not 10 episodes like season 1. It is 12 episodes.
Woo!
So there's an additional 2 episodes, which means there's more time. There's definitely more time.
We're
here.
moving so
We're
quickly.
moving very quickly.
In
we've
the season,
talked about we're 5 episodes in and there's barely been any soccer.
We finally got some.
Which wasn't even
Soccer.
real soccer. It was just a replay of them watching it on the screen.
That's true.
Well, we got,
Which is hilarious.
but even though when Roy took Isaac to the pickup game,
Right, for sure.
that was great. It
wasn't real, Krishna.
I was fine. What do
It
you mean
didn't
wasn't
count.
real? It was real. It got
wasn't-
Isaac back his confidence.
And then we didn't even get to see him play.
Yeah, that was kind of annoying. Like we build up Isaac. So Isaac obviously is the new team captain. He's having issues kind of figuring out being a team captain, and all he can do
And
at the
playing
beginning
well,
of the episode just tell everyone to fuck off and scream. And then by the end, he's got his confidence back.
He's got his mojo back.
And then we don't actually, we see Roy Kent walk on the field, and then we have creepy music play over Nate, and then that's the end of the episode.
They have showed so little of them playing. They've showed so little of them playing on the pitch, and even when they've been on the pitch, there's so much green and blue screen of and fans superimposed in the stadium. Like, I have to think that the COVID restrictions really limited how they were supposed to shoot those scenes.
Speaking of COVID restrictions, we Brooklyn Nine-Nine has come back, and we were watching it last night, and I was talking to Lauren about this and Krishna. I was like, the show just feels kind of empty because of all the green screen that's being done, and there's a clear shot where you've got the crew of Brooklyn Nine-Nine standing on one side, and it's very obvious they're green screened in everywhere. And it's these shows you're seeing a lot
It's
more
suffering,
now.
yeah.
Right. And it
It's
sucks,
hard.
but it's that's unfortunately because of everything that's happened. That's
Right.
how they have to produce this content.
And you kind of it stinks, but we kind of have to accept it. It's that or nothing at this point, and it's
Nerf or nothing.
it's tough. It's
Yeah.
Would you rather have nothing, or are you okay with we're 5 episodes in.
Right.
Ted Lasso doesn't feel like Ted Lasso to me. It is just becoming more of a, am I going to find something to nitpick as opposed to enjoying the story or caring about the characters, unfortunately.
Our producer actually has a great theory around this, and we'll get to that in a moment. But to answer your question, I would have felt better with waiting, with nothing right now, waiting to get over the COVID hump, and then producing a show in person. Because it's clear that these shows are suffering because of that. I understand from the studio standpoint, they have to capitalize on the momentum that they built last year with the show. So there's no way in their minds, that they could wait, which is a shame.
And also, not to make this a labor issue, but I get also wanting to try and put on a show because I'm not talking about Jason Sudeikis. You're talking about the lower crew members, the smaller time actors,
the crew
that they need the work. They need the work, right?
Exactly,
There's a lot of people that have been suffering without work, and I get you want to help people out as well as by creating work. So it's it's a balance, right? Of what is the best thing you can make, and also trying to give people a livelihood too.
Well, Mythic Quest did an episode that was brilliant and not suffering at all. And their season, this last season, was also great. So it can be done.
Yeah,
I don't know
that's
if it's
true.
an excuse.
I think there are some shows that probably is easier to do than others. I think for a show like
That needs
Ted
soccer.
Lasso, where it needs soccer, it needs to be outside.
You need a lot of people.
You need people.
You need
right?
tons of extras.
You need that atmosphere to get that.
Yep.
It is tough. And
Mythic Quest is, I think, it's definitely different because it focuses on a core group of people.
Right.
But they also established in the first season that they are okay running individual-centric, character-centric episodes,
Sure.
as opposed to having to have the entire crew there to make it work. Ted Lasso, unfortunately, works because you have all these variety of characters and people. And all
even
that.
think we're 5 episodes in. There's been 2 pub scenes, and the pub was such a central spot where all the characters came together. If you think of when they had the voodoo episode, right?
The curse.
Where the curse, and they're all packed into the bar.
The dark game.
They can't do any of that type of stuff.
Yeah.
Right.
And that bar is, you're right, is absolutely key to showing what Richmond means to the community.
And you've had
The community was a character in the first season.
Yep.
It's not a character at all in the second season.
Right.
So that's a shame.
tough.
It's a shame.
Anyway, Roy fucking Kent.
And that leads us perfectly into Learman's sort of idea and theory.
Okay, let's hear it.
The show isn't about Ted Lasso. The show is about Roy Kent. So if you look back from season 1 until now, and if you project down to the future, the show potentially is you have Ted Lasso, but perhaps where the show is more closely tied to Roy Kent's arc of him being a former star player, a player at the end of his career, retiring, becoming a coach, and then maybe at the end of the show taking over as head coach of Richmond from Ted Lasso, his mentor.
His
so to
father
speak.
figure.
His father figure.
His daddy.
And if you look at it through that lens, I think this first season, or the second season, I should say, makes more sense. Because Roy Kent has been sort of the only consistent piece of the show. It's been his journey. And everything else has sort of felt thrown together around him.
He's also the only character who has had easily, like, for the first 15 episodes, just the best arc from 1 to 15 so far, right?
Yeah, he's grown as a character as well.
He's changed. In some ways, he is like a protagonist. And
what's so great about him is he's changed without changing who he is. You know,
Right.
He's still Roy Kent. He's Roy Kent from episode 1. He's still the same Roy Kent. It's like he's still like a curmudgeon-y old man, right?
Right.
Like, that's just who he is. But he's still different, but I haven't changed the whole character, you know, and that can be hard to do. Like, you get some characters, right? You look at season 1 and you look at the last season, and they're completely different people, and it's like doesn't always come across as a believable arc, believable character change. Roy Kent has so far been very believable in his change. So
I mean, we also feel like we called it that Roy would become a coach. For Richmond.
Yeah.
Speaking of coaches, though, we were fucking right about Nate. Like we nailed it, and I think it was confirmed at the end with the creepy music change,
which is part of the song, by the way. So the Rainbow Song by the Rolling Stones, which is a central part of the whole episode. I listened to the full song, and the whole like music change and like the orchestral stuff is all actually part of that song.
the drop.
Yeah, so it worked very well for the episode, especially with that part.
So Nate obviously gets powered up by Keely and Rebecca to go and grow the balls to spit on a public restroom's the glass for some reason, and then impress his parents.
Nate fucking Shelley.
Nate fucking Shelley impress his parents with the table at a weird Greek restaurant.
Yeah.
Where do we think this is going? Because obviously we see him at the end of the episode. He kind of gives, Roy Kent a look. He gives Ted kind of a look, and like then he looks obviously straight ahead or down, whatever. Do you think it's going to be exactly what we said, where he's going to bounce and go to some other opposing team, or do you think he's going to self-sabotage?
I get the impression that Nate has been built up. After Roy Kent, he's probably been the most consistent character in terms of being slighted and not being totally happy in his new role. So I think it's going to be the rest of the season is going to be him clashing with the other coaches. I think him going to another team would be too much of a cop-out. I think in the typical Ted Lasso way, they'll resolve it by the end of the season. But it is seem to be like it's going to be a central conflict.
Yeah, I keep going back to the music choice too. Of like the song is all very happy-go-lucky. I listened to it a few times. The song is very like happy-go-lucky, and then it has this kind of descent into chaos and madness. And I wonder if that's where the show is kind of going right now, in terms of just you have everything's happy and go lucky, and you go back to like one of the first scenes in the episode where they're watching the game tape, and Ted has this ridiculous speech about, everything's fine if we're just communistic and we're happy.
With communism.
And we're all communism. Right? He's like, we'll figure it all out. Like everything will end up happy and good, right? And like that is not a thing to tell your players. And like it's all just gonna work out in the end. And I think, Ted is very much on this like trajectory of like, I'm just gonna be happy and everything will work out. And it seems like with our doctor Rebecca. Not Rebecca, sorry. The
Doc.
Fieldstone. Dr. Fieldstone.
Doc.
The doc. she's recognizing that like Ted needs some help here, right? Like he's going through some stuff, and he's like, no, I'm good. I'm just gonna have my silly one wordisms and happy-go-lucky type of guy. Even though he's going through this divorce, he's moved across the country. He's having some real.
You mean moved across the world?
Right, across the world, not the country. Moved across the world, and so. I just feel like that's what this season is building up with some of these elements of like Ted making the decision to have Jamie Tart come on the team, right? Butting heads with Sam, having having Roy join the staff and Nate not be so happy. It just feels like it's all kind of going to bubble up and things are going to fall apart. And I think maybe that's how the season's going. Like it's just going to fall apart. Everything's going to be like a big.
Do you usually have 4 coaches on a Premier League team?
Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, at least.
Okay.
Honestly, I think Premier League teams have more than 4. They have because they've got your head coach, your assistant coach, you've got your physios, you've got your it's so specialized. You got coaches involved at every level of what the team needs. So. This is actually a small coaching staff if you look at it compared to like real life Premier League teams. But here's the thing too: they're not in the Premier League, so
right.
This actually might be the correct number of coaches for a championship side.
Right.
But I'm guessing they still actually need a few more for a championship side. But
gotcha. So this episode was obviously ripped off a lot of rom-com stuff.
Sure.
From I mean, there's a couple of
copy and paste.
There's a couple Twitter threads
Jeff.
that like. That's basically every rom-com. But there's a Twitter thread actually that compares a bunch of the scenes to the actual movies that they were taken from.
It's at least 30, right?
It's something. There's a ridiculous amount of different movies.
Yeah.
But towards the end of the episode, or one of the common themes or one of the running storylines throughout this episode was Rebecca on a dating app.
Yeah.
And it looks like it's revealed at the end that she is flirting with Ted.
It's definitely implied.
Heavily implied.
Yeah. And it probably is.
That's what's happening. This is why, being anonymous maybe isn't the best thing in the world.
Well, actually, I mean, devil's advocate, that's why it works. If
True,
they knew
true.
who each other were, right, there would be no chance.
Right.
That being said, there's no way, when it's finally revealed that they, are talking to each other.
Yeah.
In the real world, it could never work. You can't have the owner dating a coach, right? It just doesn't work. That's why it's so interesting.
You're right, because it's dating. She's essentially dating her employee.
The only way they could date, and Larry was just mouthing it, is if Roy Kent takes over as the head coach of Richmond and Ted Lasso steps down.
Whoa.
It's the only way they could date.
I feel like this season is gearing up for Ted not to be the coach of this team at the end of the season. For multiple reasons, right? The team is still underperforming.
Yep.
The team is still not responding to, it's his shtick is getting old, right? And I think
It's less effective.
and I wonder if they're kind of playing into the sports world, right? Like sometimes you'll have a great first season with the coach, they'll figure stuff out and you have momentum, but then sometimes you need a new voice and it gets old.
Brad Stevens on the Celtics?
I mean, there's multiple. There's hundreds of examples that you can use from. And
thousands.
Then also, he's going through some shit. Like he's still struggling with this divorce and this separation from his family, being so far away. That it's all going to come to a head, and I think he's going to have like
an epic meltdown.
Especially like you think back to season 1, he had the panic attack. That was such a big part of his character. Like I think he's sadly going to get something worse. In this season, because it's just like all really piling up on him.
Oh my god!
And then maybe season 3 of Ted Lasso is like his way back to something.
So he's gonna have a meltdown, and then Rebecca's gonna comfort him, and then they're going to sleep together,
and then fire him,
and then fire him. Yeah.
Yeah,
or hide it. Which is going to cause its own issues.
They're definitely building up. Like there's some type of blow up coming, and like one character who like still continues to be non-existent as of right now is Jamie Tart, right? And he returned to this team
because of Ted.
Right, he returned to this team because of Ted. There was a little bit of drama there with Sam and him
for a second.
Last few episodes, he's really been invisible. There was even like the the part where Keely's giving away the Nespressos.
Yeah.
And she's talking, and you see Jamie come in
In the
on
background.
The side,
It's so
and you're like,
weird.
oh, he's gonna come in to frame, and
Yep.
He's gonna say something.
Nothing. He just walks by. And you're like, what the fuck? This is like the third. Like he was like the third main character.
So
last
it,
season.
it's because that was obviously green screen, I
Yeah.
believe,
Yeah,
as well.
yeah,
So
for
it's
sure.
like
There was nothing for him to talk.
yeah, he wasn't even there.
Yeah. So yeah, I'm. But I mean, maybe I'm wrong here, but I feel like that storyline is going to continue to come up, and that is going to come to a head, especially now Roy's back on staff.
Yep.
Him and Roy butt heads a lot.
Yeah.
Like maybe that's where it now starts to bubble up. Yeah, I'm curious to see where it all goes.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
I'm excited to see. Before we get into our 60-second pitch here that Arjuna's doing with Old, let's ask that question. Christian, you should kick us off.
I shouldn't I?
Yes. Ask me first.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Ravi, was this episode of Ted Lasso good?
I take my microphone and I stare deeply into the camera, and I say to you this. Yes, it was actually quite good. I actually had generally a good time.
You
I'm
like
surprised.
rom-coms? You like rom-coms?
Yeah. You
Who
just got
doesn't?
caught.
What psychopath doesn't like rom-coms?
Our dad.
There's a few.
dear.
They're hit or miss, right? There are some really
Yeah,
bad
no, there are
ones.
some bad ones, but in general, like I think the classics,
They feel good.
they're
What-
good.
what are the
They're
classic
good,
rom-coms?
Jerry Maguire.
Hitch.
Hitch is
Hitch
Hitch is
is
good.
Hitch is a good one.
That one-
Arjuna, you're
Bridget Jones' Diary is a
Oh,
good
Love
one.
Actually.
Love Actually.
What's the one
Fast and the Furious.
where they're
6.
friends? They're friends in New York, and it's what's his name?
Oh, Friends.
No,
Sex and the City.
no, no.
Sex and the City movie.
How I Met Your Mother.
I'm completely blanking on all the
3
names.
funerals and a wedding.
Three
I'm blanking on.
funerals?
I'm literally blanking on all the names of the characters in the movie.
Coupling.
It's
not a movie.
I can't. I'm completely blanking.
Thanos.
No, there's
New
like
York.
there's these two people in New York.
Yeah.
I think one is Billy Crystal.
Oh, when Harry met Sally.
Yeah, when Harry met Sally. Thank you.
Wow.
That's a classic.
Never seen it.
Never
seen it.
Arjuna, was Ted Lasso season 2, episode 5, The Return of the Shawarma Sandwich good?
Yeah, it was good. It was it was the best episode of the season. A lot. I feel like stuff actually finally happened in this episode.
We got plot.
and I feel like there's more of it's going to hopefully continue. Now I know we've had a few false starts this season with arcs that we thought were going to happen with like the Dubai Air. And a couple other things, but it really does feel like there are some threads to pull on here. And I'm actually, for the first time in a few weeks, like excited for the next week's episode and how that's going to go. So
Nice.
Krishna, was it good?
It was good. Ted Lasso was good. And honestly, reason is we saw some actual soccer action. I was like, oh, this
Soccer
feels like,
action.
This feels like what the show is about.
Did
Bring
you-
back in the soccer.
did you groan
bring
it?
back the soul of the show.
Did you groan a little when you saw them on the main pitch and then they zoomed out and it was just a replay? And you're like, God damn it!
Yeah, I mean, I'll take what I can get at this point. Maybe it's baby steps. If they're building up an epic soccer episode where it's
Soccer-centric
all
episode.
soccer, I'd be so happy, and it's done well.
Their least viewed episode.
Oh man, look, a show about a soccer team needs the soccer.
Maybe
It just
like Apple's
does. I'm
going
sorry.
hard on analytics right now, and they're like, "Oh, we found like people really dipped when we showed soccer in season 1, so we're like, less soccer."
Less soccer's good.
Oh man,
Apple would be the company that would like lean heavily into analytics of like their show and be
They
like,
absolutely
"Here's the
would be.
detailed list of everything
think
you
so?
need to
Apple
do."
wouldn't be the one.
Steve Jobs was always about giving people what they didn't know they wanted.
I thought he
Michael.
was dead.
Yeah, he's dead.
Yeah, but his mantra, if you will, is still
It's gone.
very, very
It's
important.
definitely
To
gone.
Yeah,
Is it Tim Cook? Is he the
100%.
guy?
When they had the iPad come out and there's a pencil, the dude, if he was around, would be like, "What the
The
fuck?"
dude
Like,
was always about innovation.
Yeah.
And, I don't
Here's
think
a
they've
pencil.
innovated in a while.
Before we end this podcast, Arjuna has a 60-second pitch to give us for M. Night Shyamalan's newest weird movie called Old. Cold Old. Cold
All right,
Old.
I'm setting the timer
And
at 1 minute.
Here we go. 3, 2, 1, go.
In a world where M. Night Shyamalan had a rise and a fall and a rise and a fall again, he has come out with another movie. Will he rise again? Will he fall even further into the depths of mediocrity as a director of films? Find out by tuning in to the new epic tale, Old, based off of a book called Something Sandcastles, where things happen, and there is a mystery, and of course, there is a twist unlike any other that you could not even see coming, even if you watched the movie. And now I will leave you all with a twist. The twist of this pitch is, do not watch this movie. Thank you for your time.
Wait, what?
You still have 5 seconds. 4.
M. Night, it's time to retire.
Whoa. Okay, he sold me. That sold me. Now I want to see it.
That does make me
That
want to
makes
see
me want to see
it.
it.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
I'm like, Arjuna, you basically, you're the highest point there was that this is the nail in the coffin.
Yeah.
You got to see what the nail is.
Yeah, exactly.
If Old is the nail that
Nicely
finally
done.
buries him, you got
That's
to see
good.
it.
You at first
Well
when you
done.
started the pitch off and you were like making it like a trailer, it's like you're not doing a good job. But then that last like 5,
You
sold
got
it.
us.
Nice.
That was the twist.
That's
That
good.
was the M. Night Shyamalan twist. at
That was
the
good.
end,
That was
you
like
know?
perfect use of reverse psychology. Well
time.
done. He's like,
Yeah.
you don't want to see it? No, I want to see it more.
And
That's
much
very,
like his
very
See,
videos,
I
the
actually
bulk of it
I thought about
is
this one for a
unbearable.
while. I like saw it last night. And I was like, all right, I'm going to do a pitch on this. How am I gonna structure it and do it? And
Yeah, well done.
you know, made
Nicely
sense.
done,
That's the
sir.
best one we've had so far. Yeah.
And with that, thank you for tuning in and listening to the Was It Good podcast. We will be back in Wednesday with the new episode on What If episode 3. As always, you can find us on the socials. We're on TikTok and Instagram at Was It Good Pod. We are on Twitter at Was It Good. We live stream these pods on Fridays or Saturdays on youtube.com/wasitgood. Website is wasitgood.info. Newsletter coming soon. Woo! Goodbye.
Goodbye.
Boom.
Ew.